Welcome into the SBR Betting Roundtable alongside Donnie Rightside, big man on campus, Ian Cameron. I am Drew Martin. Today is November 29th, Wednesday. We're going to be going over NFL, college football, some college basketball, also some Canadian sports for about 60 seconds. So, guys, let's go right around the horn. Introduce yourselves. What's going on in the sports betting world as of today? Donnie Rightside, find him on Twitter at RightSideVP. Welcome in, Donnie.
Hey, excited, man. Another week, another dollar, college football. When's the last time we were on the roundtable? It seems like just yesterday, just seeing who our teams that we like in college football are heading into one of the last weeks of college football, like to shed a tear, but still a lot of money to be made. Bowl season's a lot of fun. NFL heading right down the backstretch. A lot to look forward to. Love this time slot, 10 a.m. Let's talk some sports, fellas.
Absolutely, man. We got a college football championship weekend and coming down the backstretch of the NFL, like Donnie said, and his partner in crime on a bunch of shows on SBR. Big man on campus. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, welcome in.
Welcome in, Drew. Gold's good to be here. Good to talk sports on a Wednesday here. Always good to be on the roundtable.
And last but not least, Ian Cameron. Find him on Twitter at Babano. Ian, what's up, man?
We're doing good, Drew. I mean, CFL's gone. That's disappointing, but there's plenty more to look at. We've got college football coming down to bowl season soon. NFL final month, I should say, of the regular season. A lot of big games coming up this weekend. Donnie and Jeff's Philly Eagles taking on the Seattle Seahawks, just one of them. Lots to talk about. NFL, college football, college basketball really starting to get into full swing. Conference season's going to be here before you know it there, so it's a great time of year.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off on the pro level in the NFL. Let's go around maybe a bet on or fade team. We can come right back at you, Ian. Do you have a bet on team for us in the NFL?
Bet on team. This is going to make Donnie and Jeff happy because I've actually already bet this team, and unfortunately the line's already moved against them. Rather, you're not getting as good a number, but I don't know how the Philadelphia Eagles do not absolutely take down a moribund, just decimated Seattle secondary here in this football game going into Sunday night. Now I know people are going to make the case that, oh boy, Seattle, when's the last time they've been a home underdog? Look at this value here on the Seattle Seahawks. But I look at a team that is just struggling on both sides of the ball. There's no cohesion going on right now. That was a grinded out, just do what we need to do to win the football game type of performance last week for the Seahawks against the 49ers. That did not impress me one iota, not one bit. And now you got to face this Philadelphia Eagles team. I know it's obviously a point spread that, going into the season, you would think, are you nuts making Philly now laying 5.5, upwards of 6 on the road here in Seattle? But you've got to take into account that situations change, teams morph. Philadelphia's clearly proven they're among the elites in the NFL. Seattle's clearly proven that they're not the same dominant team that they were a few years ago when they were making back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. The defense is nowhere near what it was. The offensive line continues to be a problem. They've tried to address it. It hasn't worked. It's still all about Russell Wilson having to improvise on the fly if this team's going to be able to make any sort of plays. They have no ground game, none, zero to speak of. It's just a team that I think against the good teams, we've seen it already this year. Have had a hard time. I know Philadelphia is good. People are going to say it's a tough environment there in Seattle. Is Philadelphia used to it? Are they ready for it? But as far as I'm concerned, they've got too many edges here on both sides of the ball. Seattle is a home underdog. That's going to entice people because, hey, when do we ever see the Seahawks as a home underdog? I'm not going to be one of those people enticed by that.
Jeff, any follow up to that, or you want to add a different team?
Yeah, I was gonna add a different team. I'm gonna go a fade team. I mean, I'm not gonna really surprise anyone by my pick, but in the NFL, I mean, there's not a ton of surprise right now. I mean, the bad teams are pretty bad, and you look at this team going forward. I mean, the decision making processes by the Giants are just hard to understand. I mean, we could make the case that the Nathan Peterman benching was ridiculous. It was idiotic. Or not benching, but putting him in over Tyrod Taylor. But the benching of Eli Manning for Geno Smith's got to be one of the stupider things I've ever seen in this league. I mean, I can understand if you want to bench Eli Manning or give someone else a shot because the season's over and you want to see what else you have. But you're going to Geno Smith, for God's sakes. You're not going to Davis Webb, which would make a little bit more sense. You're not going to a young quarterback that you need to try out because at some point you're going to have to try out because Eli Manning's 36 years old. The future might not be too long there in New York. So you have to try the things. But what the hell is the thinking pattern on starting Geno Smith? It's really just a slap in the face to a guy that's won you 2 Super Bowls, who's been a consummate professional his whole career. It's not his fault that you've surrounded him with nothing, no run game, limited receivers that are injured or not playing well, and a bad defense. It's not his fault. Stop making him the scapegoat. To go to Geno Smith's absolutely ridiculous. And to fade the New York Giants on the road is probably a good idea. This team's 2-9. They're 4-7 against the spread. They're an absolute turmoil and have been the whole year. What an absolute mess of a year for the Giants.
Yeah, tough to argue the opposite side of that one, big man. That's a good one. And what about you, Donnie? What do you got?
Yeah, no, that was my fade team as well, the New York Giants. And Jeff pointed out exactly the points that I wanted to bring up. When you take a look at the NFL, when you're waving the white flag, not to say that the Giants were even going to, head down the stretch or get excited here, but I can see on the one hand, the Giants will say, you know what, winning games doesn't really matter at this point. We'd actually rather lose out. We'll get a better draft pick. I get all that, but you're losing out anyway with Eli Manning. I mean, he has a record on the line here who's done nothing but be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Respectful to the organization, coming to work each and every day, even though that team has not been the greatest team. Obviously, as we've seen this year, he has a string of, starts that he's on the line, showing up each and every week, and it means a lot to him. If you let Eli Manning start the rest of the season, folks, what happens? Giants lose out anyway. So now you're going to Geno Smith. My first indication, and Jeff was bringing it up as well, I said, you know what? Oh, my God, Eli Manning got benched. Let me dig into this. Yeah, you know what? They're going to check out the rookie. I understand it. If you go to Davis Webb and you say, you know what? We just want to see what we have here. The rest of the season doesn't matter. Let's get some evaluation in. But the minute I saw them going to Geno Smith, I almost had a chuckle saying, you know what you're getting in Geno Smith. If you start Eli Manning, he goes out with respect and he keeps his, statistics alive and consecutive start streaks alive. And you lose out anyway because he's not a good quarterback. The Giants are an awful football team going nowhere. You start Geno Smith. Now you just make a mockery of everything. And you saw the Twitter outpouring yesterday from past Giants, from broadcasters, everybody unanimous in their support saying, Giants, what are you doing? You're going to lose out anyway. Let the man go out with some respect, and then maybe he can move on or retire at the end of the year. Whether or not Geno Smith starts or Eli Manning starts, you will lose every game throughout the rest of this football season. Why not let the guy go out with some dignity there?
But
it's totally ridiculous. And another thing that you got to look at too is, and Donnie hit it nail on the head. It's Ben McAdoo's got this fascination. He's got to see something from Geno Smith. Oh, what have you not? What have you seen from him previously with the New York Jets? What have you seen from that guy on that team? Nothing but shit, to be honest with you. He's been terrible there. There's nothing more to see with Geno Smith. I could sort of tolerate this move if you're going to put Davis Webb in there. He is a fresh face. Let's see what he can do in the National Football League. Former Texas Tech and Cal quarterback. Maybe there's something there. There's nothing there. I'll repeat this. There is nothing there with Geno Smith. We have seen it now for years. He cannot play in the National Football League. He couldn't play years ago. He's still not going to be able to play effectively in the NFL now today with the New York Giants. That's number one, in this situation. And number two, Eli Manning's still a guy that's won 2 frickin' Super Bowls and beat Tom Brady and the Patriots to do it both times. Like that's I know he's frustrated you over the years in terms of his inconsistency. He's not a mobile quarterback. When the pocket collapses, he's done. That's the way it's been with Eli Manning. It frustrates people. He sometimes chucks the ball up into coverage and gets picked off, and that frustrated Giants fans. But he's still giving you success that you really haven't seen since going way back into the 90s with this New York Giant football team when they won a Super Bowl then. Eli Manning's given you 2 Super Bowl rings and beat Tom Brady and the Patriots to do that. For that reason alone, you got to show the guy a little bit more respect and give him a little bit more of a better way than this. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is just Ben McAdoo piling on to an absolutely shit show of a season he's had at the coaching position. He's been absolutely awful, and he's just adding to it here.
It's also not like there's not only 5 games left. At some point, you have to see, because the future for Eli Manning in New York is gone. He's not coming back. After this little stunt, there's not going to be a future there, I wouldn't think. You got to understand, Geno Smith's not your quarterback going forward. There's a good amount of quarterbacks upcoming in this draft that you're going to be very high in as far as picking. You need to see what the future is with Davis Webb. I think this is basically telling you, hey, we don't see much of a future for Davis Webb. We don't think he's anywhere near ready. So I guess we're just throwing Geno Smith. We'll tank. We'll lose the last 5 games, and we'll guarantee ourselves a spot at number 1. Listen, this team is backwards. I don't get it. Where's Davis Webb? That would make sense here. I would understand that. I could see what they're doing. But the whole Geno Smith thing just doesn't make any sense. Very odd. Very, very odd.
Nothing to see there with Geno Smith. Absolutely nothing, except a pick or two.
Guys, we got to give a little love to the chat box. We got Juan, we got Gary saying nice words. Thanks, man. Conrado, welcome. Guys, you're touching on it a little bit with the Giants and sucking and fading them. Also, good teams have done very well in the NFL. Got a stat here. NFL underdogs weeks 1 through 6, 53, 33, and 3 ATS. And then NFL favorites weeks 7 through 12, 52, 25, and 5. Do you guys see this favorite streak continuing? Donnie, what do you think?
It's I love the stat that you just brought up there, because when you look at it and you see how the season evolves, doesn't that stat tell you pretty much everything of my betting credo there? Why do you think I don't bet the first couple weeks in the NFL season? Why do the underdogs do so well? Because nobody knows who the hell's a good football team yet through weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. You sit it out, you let it wait. Now all of a sudden the favorites are pouring it on. Why? Because it's the haves and the have-nots. They're the good football teams. You can see it with your eyes. You can watch the Eagles. They're a really good football team. You can watch the Giants right now. You know they suck. I've bet on the Giants early in the season, weeks 4, 5, and 6, because there was some value. But that stat right there tells you everything you need to know about the NFL. If you're betting football in September in the NFL, just bend over. You're probably going to get destroyed because nobody knows how good these football teams are yet. Sit it out a little bit, wait on it there, and pick your poison and fire away. It works every year. It's the same thing in the NFL. It's the reason in September you see in Las Vegas they post record numbers. Nobody loses more money in the NFL in September than the public does. Sit it out, wait, watch, learn. Now you know who's a good football team. Fire away now. Now's your time.
Books are getting crushed again in the NFL. Yep. Books are getting crushed again. Yeah, books are getting crushed again in the NFL, and it's simple. You've got Joe Public coming in there, betting on the good teams week after week after week, betting against the bad teams week after week after week. Look at the point spread teams. Look at the teams that are at their best from a point spread perspective this year. The Eagles, the Vikings, the Patriots. I mean, these are all teams that the bettors are just lining up to bet every single week, and they're cashing tickets with these football teams. That's just the way it is. It's not rocket science, or as our Trailer Park Boys buddies say, not rocket appliances. We're talking about a situation here where it's just, I see good team, I bet good team. I see bad team, I bet against bad team. That's been the modus operandi in the NFL now, going back, I think, from the second half of last season. That's really when that train started, and it's continued all the way through to this year. It is a public bettor's dream right now, the National Football League, and it's a bookie's headache. I mean, the books, thank God for them, last Sunday night. The Pittsburgh Steelers completely vomited all over themselves and barely got out of there with a win against Green Bay. That was the saving grace for a lot of Vegas books, that Green Bay got the point spread cover in that Sunday night football game, because prior to that, it was another dark, dismal, dreary day in terms of betting results for the books in Vegas.
All right, Ian, good way to wrap that discussion up. Guys, we're going to be talking college basketball in just a bit, also college football as well. Please give us a thumbs up, the like sign if you're liking the content here. Guys, we got a game to break down in the NFL. We got Minnesota at Atlanta. Looking right now on the SBR odds screen, we got 47 and a halves out there as the total. BetCris is showing the 47 and a half. Also a 2.5 at 5 dimes. You got to play a little juice, but if you're looking to bet Atlanta, 5 dimes is the book to do it. Check that out on SBR odds right now. Guys, these are 10 straight wins between the two of these teams. 9 straight ATS covers between the two of these teams. So 2 really hot teams. What way are we looking to bet this? Donnie, let's start off with you.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm looking to favor the home team in this one. A -3, I think, is a decent price for the Atlanta Falcons. When you take a look at their season as a whole, 3 nice comeback victories there. A hard 4-game stretch, playing mostly NFC opponents, all NFC opponents there, losing to Carolina, 20-17 on the road, 27-7 versus Dallas, 34-31 versus Seattle, and then Tampa Bay, the 34-20 game. You have to remember, a lot of the times, folks, Devontae Freeman, one of the single best football players in the NFL, especially as a running back, basically missed the last full 3 games. I mean, if you're looking at the Dallas game, he did start that game, but he goes out on the first drive. They have a nice victory, 27-7. Seattle going there 34-31 with a nice victory. And again, being without Devontae Freeman versus Tampa Bay, a 2-touchdown victory in that one also. Now you're going to get your star running back. You're going to have being able to spell by Coleman, 2 capable running backs. We all know how good Julio Jones is. I know Minnesota's a really good football team. I know Minnesota overall has one of the better defenses out there. Zimmer's a genius. You have Xavier Rhodes going to be able to match up a little bit with Julio Jones. Not stop him outright, but he's going to be able to slow him down a little bit. But Atlanta at home in the Dome in a game, another one for them that they must win. If you're looking at situational football here with Minnesota, they're clearly the best team to me anyway in the NFC North. If you're looking at the NFC South right now, it's a jumbled picture. You got the Saints, you got the Panthers, and you got Atlanta all huddling there. Atlanta is already in playoff mode. That started with the Dallas Cowboys football game. They're locked and loaded in here. I'm going to lean right now to taking the Atlanta Falcons at home, and I'll lay the 3 points here.
Big man, do you agree with Donnie? Also, Jive Man in the chat box is saying Atlanta struggles versus good defenses. Anything on that?
Yeah, I don't know that I particularly agree with them. I would seemingly take the other side. I think with what you're seeing from Atlanta, look, they've played real well, and Donnie made great points. But truth of the matter is, I mean, you look at the 3 wins that they've had, and they were against the Cowboys, Tampa Bay, and I'm trying to remember the other team. I forget offhand, but
Seattle.
Either way, there you go. Yeah. As far as the defense for Minnesota, we all know it's very good, but I think it's time to start giving some respect to Case Keenum here. This is basically saying this is a coin flippy type of game. You also have to look at the fact that Minnesota's got a mini bye, you could say, a couple extra days to prepare in this one, playing on Thanksgiving. That gives them a little bit of an edge here. Look, it's a tough game to call, and I think Donnie, either of us could be on the right side here. This is basically the line's basically saying this game is a total 50-50 kind of game. I just think in this kind of situation, I'd rather take the team with the better defense, team that can get some stops late in the game. And, after last week, you had basically full reign to do whatever you wanted against that Tampa Bay defense. It's not going to be so easy this week. This is going to be a big game for both teams. Both teams will figure out a lot about, is Atlanta for real? Have they taken the next step and they're a contender all of a sudden? As Minnesota, just a team that are going to be real difficult to beat, whether it's on the road or at home. This is great because as an Eagle fan, I can just watch these two teams beat each other up. I can watch every other team play each other, and we're just sitting there hanging out doing our thing. So I'm going to be looking at this from a fan perspective, and I'm happy to see it.
Ian, any wrap up on the Vikings and Dirty Birds here?
There's no way I lay points against Minnesota. No way. Not even maybe. Not even with this Atlanta team. Absolutely no way. I mean, everyone wants to talk about Atlanta's 3 wins. Okay, Dallas has stunk. Not just been bad. They've stunk since Zeke Elliott's suspended and since Sean Lee's been out. So I don't give you credence to beat them. Seattle's a flawed football team. We know that. Banged up secondary. You should beat them even on the road. And Tampa Bay with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Pick Patrick? No. You're not getting a thumbs up and I'll pat on the back. Good job, Atlanta. You won that game. They're playing good right now, no question, but let's see a matchup here against this Minnesota defense. I don't know if they will. I still see an offensive play caller here in Steve Sarkisian that's not exactly thrilled me, especially in step-up games. You look at what they've done Atlanta offensively. It's not always been pretty. Let's not forget this team's lost home games to Miami and Buffalo this year. They got pummeled by the New England Patriots, on one of the elite teams in the NFL. They lost at Carolina on the road. They beat a Green Bay team early in the season that's completely fallen apart. So I don't know if I trust Atlanta, even though this is a bargain. And I understand Donnie's point in that regard, that from a situational perspective, from a line value standpoint, Atlanta -3 at home's pretty good. But this Minnesota team right now, and Case Keenum, you can laugh all you want, oh, geez, Case Keenum, look at how is he playing this good all of a sudden? He is. And he had played a phenomenal football game against the Detroit Lions. And let's keep in mind, Desmond Trufant missed a game for Atlanta against Tampa Bay and may not return this week. He's still battling concussion protocol right now. So he may not be back in that Falcons secondary. It could be a chance for the Minnesota Vikings to attack that secondary down the field with some of their receivers, Stephon Diggs with Adam, I got a feeling that he's gonna catch a touchdown pass. Basically, those are the guys that I think Case Keenum has found a good rapport with here for the Minnesota Vikings in this receiving core. Might be able to make some plays against that Atlanta team. So, and we know Mike Zimmer, great coach, better defense, +3 with the Vikings is the only way I'd look.
All right, good stuff, guys. We got a couple guys saying in the chat box, we appreciate it. Hit the like button for us. Big man, you're also chiming in. I got a side note here. We got 37 likes with 165 watching right now. By the end of the hour, by the time we shut this down, would you take the over or under on 80 likes by the time we shut this down?
Over.
Over? Okay. Donnie, what about you?
I'm going to take the I'm going to go optional, or excuse me, against the grain. I'm going to go under 80.
And Ian, what about you?
We're optimistic about our show.
I'm going to be Mr. Optimistic. I'm going to have faith in our viewers and faith in this channel. Over 80 views.
I'm going to also
I'll
go.
go
What about the
over,
over?
too.
I'm going to go over under 40 dislikes too. Let's see if we can get some dislikes in the chat box out there.
Yeah,
I don't know if
exactly.
we
I'm sure
wanna
we'll find a
encourage that.
few. Exactly. Yeah.
Can you like and dislike, or no? Does it take it away?
I think it's one or the other there. Yeah.
All right, so we'll set the over/under on 80 and try to remember to get to that. But guys, anything else you want to throw out NFL wise? Bet on or fade team? I don't know if we came back around.
Yeah, I think I'll go one quick bet on team here. I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and now the change is finally impacted. We all see at the end of the football season, some teams that are bad football teams still are capable of playing good football and still energized and motivated. Case in point, which is not my team, but I'm going to get to my team, was the Arizona Cardinals last week. I took them against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got a lot of hate emails behind the scenes saying, "What are you kidding me?" Jacksonville, look at that. I said, "Look, man, watch the tape. Blaine Gabbert can make all the throws. He's now in a decent offensive situation. He played okay last week and ended up beating Jacksonville. And the whole case in point on that one was Blake Bortles on the road laying like 6 points or over a field goal is ridiculous. You should never do that. So that one turned out to be a winner. But now, finally, we have the quarterback change in San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo. Comes in. What's he throw? 2 passes last week with about a minute to go. Ends up with 1 touchdown pass. Am I saying San Francisco's great? Am I saying San Francisco's going to win a lot of football games and make a run in the NFC West, even though they're already out of it? No. But a young coach in there, still getting his game plan together. The team is still fighting and playing hard. Now you have a capable, competent quarterback back there. Not saying they're going to win a lot of football games, but I think they're going to be able to hang around and cover some numbers here late season.
Agreed.
All right, Donnie.
That's a good one.
Hey, and we got Graham in the chat box. Do you have any quick thoughts on the Thursday night game, Washington-Dallas?
Quick thoughts on Washington, Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a case on this one in a video, but you want to talk about football games that really don't matter in life? That one Thursday night's one of them.
Okay. Well, hey, check out SBR picks for that video, guys. Hey, let's move on.
Make sure
to,
you read. My only thing to say about that game is read your injury reports, for goodness sake, before betting that game. It is a mass unit on both of those squads right now from an injury perspective. Just make sure you do your due diligence there if you're going to place a wager on Thursday night.
All right, guys. Hey, let's come right back at you, Ian. 60 seconds with Ian Cameron, Canadian sports. Hopefully a song and dance. What do you got, man?
Yeah, CFL season's over. Congrats to the Toronto Argonauts. A great Grey Cup victory against the Calgary Stampeders. The Snow Bowl, I guess you could say. It was heavy snow for the first half of that game. It eased off in the second half, but Toronto Argonauts really only win that game probably because of the fumble. I think Calgary was going in to seal that Grey Cup victory. If they punch that in, of course, it's a Cassius Vaughn 100-plus yard return, fumble return touchdown that ends up tying the game for the Argos. They pull it out on a last-minute field goal by Liram Hairolahu, and then after that, Calgary comes down the field and ends up throwing an interception. Bo Levi Mitchell. What in God's name are you thinking when you got a field goal in your back pocket, throwing an interception there? But it is what it is. Calgary loses another heartbreaker in the Grey Cup for the second straight year. And the Argos and Mark Trestman in year one with him as the head coach, he turns around a franchise that was a doormat last year in 1 year. Congratulations to the Argos. Hell of a job by them. The NHL season is going strong as well. We've got a lot of good teams, Tampa Bay, Columbus. You look at the Vegas team, even though they lost last night, they've gotten off to a great start. The Winnipeg Jets, one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. So there's a lot going on in hockey. And, December's coming up. This is when some of the cream rises to the top and you start to get a better sense of who's good and who's not. So a lot to look forward to on the ice.
All right, thanks, Ian. We got college basketball, also college football and best bets coming up. Big man on campus, Mr. College Basketball himself. He's been great. He knows pretty much more than anybody that I know. We got a big card tonight, really a big card this week, big man. Do you got anything on Miami, Minnesota, or wherever you want to go with this in college basketball, bro?
Yeah, Miami, Minnesota is an interesting game. Miami's a team that hasn't really played much of anyone just yet. Very good, but I'm wondering, and this is your concern right away with college hoops. On the one concern you have with certain teams is, how are they going to play certain teams? You look at a team like Rutgers last night; they may have passed the test. I mean, they hadn't played anybody. They finally play a pretty decent team in Florida State, and they play well. So they're an interesting team going forward. But you wonder where Minnesota is after that very odd game on Saturday against Alabama. They were kind of embarrassed a bit in that game. We seem to forget that they won that game even though they kind of, I think, internally lost the game just of how they played late. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But overall, Minnesota, to me, these are both bet on teams. I love both these teams long term. But for me, Minnesota gets the edge in this game solely for the fact of A, they're at home, and B, I'm concerned with the Miami Hurricanes inside. Huell's been a good player, but I wonder how long they're going to be able to go with not having much of a particular threat down low. They have great guard play with Newton and Lonnie Walker and Bryce Brown, but I think long term, Minnesota in this game is going to bother them. Reggie Lynch is possibly the best defender in the country at the front court, at the rim, and Jordan Murphy's very good as well. They have a couple guards there that are really good also. I just think Minnesota's slightly better. I'm concerned with the fact that Miami hasn't really played anyone this year yet, which you're going into a game like this is concerning because I just don't know much what to expect. I think from an outer edge, though, I think Minnesota's a slightly better team. I would give them the lead in this game. Really like that side possibly.
And Ian, do you have anything, any follow up or anything on Sarah or singing a song of some sort?
Yeah, exactly. Sarah in the chat getting a little aggressive. Let's put it that way.
No, and
but
shout
yeah,
out to Donnie. That was hilarious, man. That comment.
That was a pretty good one. I need some respect on that one.
No time for goodbye. Well, goodbye, Sarah. Goodbye. We're saying it right now. I'm looking forward to some of these games tonight, actually, on the college basketball card. Really, really good games, a lot of them. You've got, Miami, Minnesota. We talked about that. Minnesota, to me, very impressive team so far this season. I'm very reluctant to go against them. No question about it. Richard Pitino's got a very good squad, very experienced squad as well this year. Going into the season, a lot more talent, no question, and they've played very, very well. Michigan, North Carolina is an interesting basketball game. It's going to be a good early season test here for Michigan. I think this is one of the first times they've played in like 20 years, these two programs in basketball. Michigan never played in the regular season. Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
Since that game.
Yeah, exactly. It's been that long, but it's good to see that again. Wolverines and Tar Heels, of course, part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which has been going on the last couple days. So there's a lot of good games. UNLV taking their act on the road for the first time. This has been an impressive basketball team so far this season. Marvin Menzies is recruited at a very high level for UNLV standards, no question. I mean, he's done a very, very good job this year bringing in talent. They've got more than they've had in the past. They're going to Northern Iowa, a very well-coached team. They've been for years. They've always been pretty good out of that Missouri Valley Conference. So this is a good test early in the season for UNLV. But, the line's bouncing around. Pick'em -1. It was -1 Northern Iowa. It was -1 UNLV. Now it's right around Pick'em. So there's a lot of two-way action going on, a lot of differing opinion in that game. Even though it's their first true road game, and I know that's sometimes you want to sit back and say, can a team get the job done for the first time going on the road? That being said, I'd still be reluctant to go against UNLV. This team looks very, very talented right now. You just worry that could be a little bit of a problem for Northern Iowa tonight. But there's a lot of good games on this card. I think Western Kentucky could absolutely throttle Eastern Kentucky because I think Western Kentucky's a team that is on the upswing. With Stansbury there as the head coach, I was impressed with the performances they gave in that recent tournament. And now they're playing Eastern Kentucky, who's absolutely riddled with injuries, that's not playing well at this point in time. Hilltoppers, to me, look like a team that's starting to turn a corner and show me something. That was a good showing for them in tournament action recently.
And guys, you bring up the UNLV Northern Iowa game. What about totals wise in this? It opened 137, now up to 142.5. Obviously, some money coming in on the over. I was looking to bet it last night, big man, and then I went into Ken Palm and saw Northern Iowa. They're one of, if not the slowest team in the country. Do you have any opinion totals wise on this?
I can't say I particularly do because UNLV this is a total clash of styles. Northern Iowa is god awful to watch. I mean, they're very slow and they want to play in the 50s. And UNLV is the total opposite. I want to make a case. So I got to tell you, I think UNLV is a team that by the end of the year, I think this could be an Elite Eight caliber team. I know that's very high with them, but they are really good. I mean, they have. Brandon McCoy's fantastic. Bringing in Jordan Johnson from Milwaukee gives them a really good point guard. Mooring can play the traditional 2 role that he wants to play. They could bring people off the bench as well. But for a total, I don't have much on that. But I do like the Running Rebels. Until the Running Rebels burn you, I don't really know how you go against them. I actually took their team total on Saturday against Southern Utah. They weren't able to get the cover there, but they almost did. They were up 2 with like 4 minutes to go. By the end of the game, ended up winning by 19. And I know it's only Southern Utah, but they could really turn it on. They were able to really do what they wanted against Utah, who, if you follow anything that Ken Palm says, Utah's rated much higher than Northern Iowa. So if you're looking from that standpoint, this number is a little too short for me. UNLV is real. I know this is their first road game, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about coaching with road games, and I think Marvin Menzies is a fantastic one. I like UNLV here also.
Yeah, the Southern Utah game, I know people are going to say what happened to UNLV. They really were sputtering, and it was a tough spot. They're coming off the huge win against Utah, sort of not interested as much in this Southern Utah game, and really didn't wake up till, as Big Man said, late in that game in the second half when they poured it on down the stretch. And I know Utah may not be as good as this season as Larry Kraskowiak's previous additions of this Utes team. It's not the DeLon Wright, Jakob Poeltl, Kyle Kuzma additions of the Utah Utes, but that's still a really damn good win if you're UNLV. I mean, the way you just obliterated that basketball team and dominated on both ends of the court, really impressive and a positive thing to see for UNLV. It's starting to look like this team's got a decent ceiling as the season goes on here. I'm impressed with what I've seen. Now the question is, can you go on the road against, I know Northern Iowa, it's not their greatest, most vintage team this year either, but it's still a road game against a disciplined team that's going to want to force you to make plays and shots in the half court and really want to slow this thing down. We'll see if UNLV's got the discipline and poise tonight. If they show me discipline and poise and get a nice road win tonight, look out. This team could really be dangerous.
This is a lot of respect for Northern Iowa. I mean, Northern Iowa, I know that they're Northern Iowa, so you have to bow down. But, I mean, this, like you said, is not one of their – this isn't Ali Farouk Manesh or Wes Washburn type of teams. This is an average team in the Missouri Valley. They're not even picked to win this conference, for God's sakes. It's a lot of respect. I mean, you're giving them their home advantage tons here. This is one of those games where I think UNLV goes in and really just dominates a team that's not as good as they are. UNLV's been real good so far until they kind of go off the tracks. I don't really know how you at this price bet against them.
You guys want to throw out anything college basketball wise before we move to the gridiron?
Well, I mean, we're on a time limit, so maybe I shouldn't. We could talk about that for hours. But yeah, I mean, it's a great card. A lot of good games today. A lot of high level matchups. Should be interesting.
All right, guys. Well, let's move on to college football. And we were talking about bet on fade teams before
There's
we got
your 80
on.
likes, by the way.
I was just going to say that. By the way, the over just
over
hit,
cashes.
So,
yes, I told you.
Nice
I
call by Donnie Rightside.
There we go. Yeah, see, Jeff, we have to put the reverse jinx out there, man. Use it.
Yep.
That's why money management, guys, just slow and steady. But got the cash on the over. So thank you, guys. We appreciate all the likes. College football wise, guys, we were going to do bet on fade, decided not to because it's only 1 week into the and then we got the bowl season. So let's just open it up. What's on your minds? Anybody got anything? Stanford, USC, or Memphis, UCF? Any of these big games? Not Clemson, Miami. Big Man, you got anything on the college football slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, the great games, are going to be great. I mean, look at the schedule. I mean, even like that Memphis UCF game. I mean, the total is ridiculously high. I mean, you have a possibility of having the highest total of the year in this game, if I've saw it correctly. I think it's like 80 plus. That's going to be interesting. I mean, every game's interesting. I mean, look at these matchups. As far as the most exciting game, I mean, it's got to be Miami Clemson. I mean, I'm going to really look smart here, or really look stupid, because I picked Miami to win this conference a long time ago. I don't know if they can. I'm going to have to really hope. I mean, they're basically 10-point underdogs, but we'll get into that one in a little bit. Just the overall quality of these games. It's going to be conference championship week's always real fun, real interesting. I'm excited for it.
Two games I am not, even at high numbers, betting under the total. Two games I am not betting under the total, even at high totals. Memphis, UCF. North Texas, Florida Atlantic. Those are two games I have no interest, none, zero in the under. I don't care that it's 74 in one game, 82 in the other. I mean, you've got two rolling 4 rolling offenses right now in those games. Mason Fine is fine at the quarterback spot for North Texas. Florida Atlantic, we know that team with Driscoll at the quarterback spot. Singletary running the ball has been terrific. The Lane Kiffin up-tempo offense has been humming at Florida Atlantic now for weeks on end. That game's going to be a shootout. Memphis UCF, I think, is going to be games. I mean, UCF's defense, the one thing we saw from them last week against South Florida, which was an absolute thriller, an absolute classic. I love that, watching that game. It was a tremendous game. Back and forth it went. But UCF's defense, again, one of the better offenses they've played South Florida, and they were able to make plays with them. Quentin Flowers and company. Now you got to play a prolific Memphis team that can run the football with Miller at receiver, who's been tremendous, and Riley Ferguson throwing the football. Going to be a test for that UCF defense coming off that huge win against South Florida. I'd be reluctant to lay points with Central Florida here, 7.5. As much as I like that team, I'm not going against them, but not looking to spot 7 points with them in that game either. But 2 games I'm staying away, and I'm telling people, you better be holding your heart if you're taking unders. And 2 games this week in college football, it's those 2 games. North Texas FAU, Memphis UCF. You're going to be it's going to be, you're going to be biting your fingernails right till the final snap if you bet an under in those 2 games.
That Memphis UCF game, Ian, you make an interesting point on that one. I mean, this is also, and Donnie, you and I remember this game. Remember when Memphis got absolutely obliterated by UCF?
Yes, I
that's
do.
a game. That's a game surely in the thought processes here for Memphis. This team always seems to, in these kind of games, come to play. When you're giving them a free touchdown, you'd imagine this game's back and forth. I mean, I like UCF, but I think playing with a little revenge here in a game that's absolutely gigantic. Memphis is looking real mighty good here because I think offensively they clearly can match the wits that UCF can. And they're playing with that revenge factor in a huge game. This could be where they get the last laugh. I think getting this amount of points to Memphis is real critical.
And Donnie, just to follow up
52-45.
what
It
Big Man,
smells like that kind of game.
Donnie,
Yeah.
just to follow up what Big Man said, 315, 316. What about that same philosophy with North Texas FAU? We remember FAU kind of put it on them, although that spot for North Texas was awful. It was the week after that UTSA game when they had that huge play to win it. Also catching doubles here. You can catch it 11.5 on North Texas. Any thought on taking the Mean Green here?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to step in front of the lane train right now because also if you look back, they have an all-world running back, North Texas, as well. I mean, we all know what Singletary does for FAU, but let's take a look at North Texas. He's not going to play in this football game. Jeffrey Wilson's going to be out. That's a huge, huge advantage if you're FAU saying, you know what, I don't have to worry about a guy that's legitimately a 1,300-yard back who's not going to be playing in this game. Mason Fine's a really good quarterback, but if you beat him up a little bit and say, you know what, you're just going to have to throw it to beat us, that's advantage FAU because the one thing we know about North Texas, Drew, they don't stop the run all that well. And is there one team that you want to face this weekend if you don't stop the run all that well? It's not FAU. They're going to run read option and pound it down your throat. And this is one of those games to me, which, again, I agree. If you're just looking to say, you know what, North Texas is a good team, I'm going to take the points, I can see that advantage of it. But Lane Kiffin has this storm brewing right now where all of a sudden, is he going to Tennessee? Does he want another job? Does he want another Power 5? Now you're in one of those situations where you're going to get a national telecast game. Is this one that Lane Kiffin finally says, you know what, let's push the implosion button and hang like a 70 spot on North Texas where everybody goes, oh my God, how can Tennessee or how can another school not hire Lane Kiffin at this point? So there's some added incentive in that one when taking a look at FAU. But the Wilson loss for North Texas, that is huge.
And Drew,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
that's a
like
good point.
it's not like they just lost to Florida Atlantic. They get absolutely crushed. And they gave up 70 points in that game, for God's sakes. I mean, it's not like they had any success stopping Florida Atlantic. And Donnie Rightside makes a very good point. Lane Kiffin seems to get off on running scores up against teams like this. And now you're getting him not on CBS Sports Network. You're getting this on a I would imagine a high level channel, ESPN or something.
ESPN2,
yeah,
I believe. Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
This is not good if you're North Texas, and you got to travel into Boca for this game. I think it's in Boca. Is this a neutral
Yes.
site game?
Yep. Home team. Nope. Home team.
Home
Okay,
team.
there you go. So it's this is with Jeff Wilson out, this is a tough one. North Texas is a solid team. They've improved significantly. You talk about a good coach, Seth Luttrell. I mean, what an ascent into to being good again. I mean, this team a couple years ago lost to Portland State 69-7, I think, at home. Just an amazing ascent. They played
Yeah.
very well. But this is just a way better team, healthier at home. I wouldn't have much confidence at all that Florida Atlantic doesn't win by 2 touchdowns or more.
Yeah, before we get to the big game, Miami Clemson, this may be a revenge situation in terms of North Texas that may not work out. One that I think has a chance to work out is down in the SEC. I'm going to build a case for Georgia here as a slim underdog against Auburn in this SEC championship game. When you look at this from an Auburn perspective, you're rolling along. You already tattooed Georgia 40-17 earlier this year. You've dominated that game. Obviously, they were the far better team, and we give them credit for that. And they just took down Alabama, and I was on Auburn in that game last week against Alabama. I like that spot for them. Home underdog. I didn't trust Alabama. I didn't think they were a team that faced the better schedule. We mentioned that on the show last week, and Auburn got the job done, 26-14. Great performance. Very impressed by Stidham, the quarterback, that he made as many plays throwing the football against that Alabama defense as he did. It was an impressive performance, but let's hold on now. You're facing Georgia again, team you already beat. Who's going to come into this game making having that bigger focus in terms of adjustments, preparation for this football game? On the Auburn side, you're coming off a huge win against Alabama. Players going nuts. Gus Malzahn getting interviewed with his wife there on the sideline, happy as can be. Are you really going to have that focus to get your practice, hit that practice field hard and get ready for this game as Georgia will? A Georgia team that got lambasted by this Auburn team that is going to want to make those adjustments. And I think they're going to come into this game with a major chip on their shoulder. And I'm not convinced we're going to see an A game out of Auburn. This is going to test their poise and maturity. You're coming off a massive win against your arch rival in the Iron Bowl. Can you put it together for a second straight week here in this game? I know Jake Fromm did not fare well against this Auburn defense when he faced them earlier in the season. But I think he's going to play better. I think they're going to be able to run the ball better. It's in Atlanta, this SEC championship game at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. That's a little bit of an advantage for Georgia. They should have a fair amount of fans turning up there for the Bulldogs in this game. And it's just a situation where I know Kirby Smart in the big spot still has to prove himself. I mean, is he really ready to win a big game in a big spot like this? We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But I like how it sets up from a Georgia perspective. And they're the team catching points, not laying points in this spot. I'll be looking to back Georgia in the SEC title game on Sunday.
About the fans there, Ian, there may be a little more Georgia. I'm not sure, but there'll be a lot of Auburn there, and I believe the SEC separates it out ticket-wise pretty well. So, I mean, you bring up some good points, but Georgia's coming off of a big win as well. They faced Georgia Tech, and I get your point that their head may be more into it because they did get beat pretty bad by Auburn. But I mean, you make some good points, Donnie or Big Man. Anything on the SEC championship?
Yeah, I need to see the health of the running back, Kerryon Johnson, in this one. If he's healthy and ready to go in this football game, to me, it would be advantage Auburn just because the overall, team, overall head coach. I just think it's a better overall team, as I keep on using the word overall, because Auburn should win this football game if their running back is healthy. It's one of those things where you look at the team coming down the stretch. Is there a better football team right now in the country than what Auburn is doing here? And I know, don't get me wrong, Georgia's had a fantastic season. You can downplay their schedule and who they're playing, but you still have to win those football games and end up in the SEC title game. It's just an interesting one. The same thing, I know it's hard to beat teams 2 times in a year, but outside of the first drive in that Georgia-Auburn game, and I know it was in Auburn, they dismantled that Georgia team, and I don't know what's going to change here at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you, Donnie. And Big Man, we can come to you. Do you want to head on to Miami Clemson, or you want to say something about Auburn, Georgia?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of build off quickly what Donnie said. I agree with him. I think they are the best team in the country, and I think they're going to win the whole thing. Auburn. This team is really good. Beating Alabama was real impressive. I mean, that was doing that and taking care of business there. Can't beat that. And I think you make a good point, but I think you're going to have to chop his arm off before he doesn't play in this game. He'll be in there. Georgia's been a nice story, but they're just that kind of quarterback away or maybe 1 year away. They'll be back, Georgia. They're a good team, but I'm not interested in fading Auburn. But yeah, as far as Miami Clemson, listen, I'm not going to go too in depth into this one. I'm going to keep riding Miami. They're not laying points here. They're not laying 3 or 4. They're not laying 19. They're getting 9.5, 10. Yeah, I'm going to be on Miami. Look, if they look good, no. But they seem to play well in these games that no one thinks they're going to play well in. I know their tight end's out. I know they lost Mark Walton, who, by the way, Donnie's going to the NFL, surprisingly enough. I think he's sick of getting driven into the ground by Mark Richt. But, I think in this kind of game, you kind of throw out everything. At the end of the day, Miami's here for a reason. Defensively, they're real good. I think the turnover chain will be out once or twice in this game. Can they win? Sure they can. Will they? Probably not. But I think getting the double digits here, I got to grab. I mean, I think defensively they'll stay in this game. But if Malik Rozier plays lately how he's been playing, they could get run out. He's got to play well. He was able to play well in the game against Notre Dame. I hope we can get a performance like that from this group, and they can hang around in this game. I'd love to see them win. Just don't know if they will, but I'll take the point.
The number's getting
Donnie,
to the point now where it's just a situation where I can only back Miami. This has been their point spread role. I mean, they've not been a good favorite. We know that. Pittsburgh, Virginia, go on down to North Carolina. They've been a horrible favorite, but get them as a pick 'em. Get them as an underdog. That's where they've been money this season. And now this number's creeping up so much on Clemson because of all the Miami injuries. It's now at a price point for me that I could only back the Canes. Will I? 50-50 on that because the injuries do concern me. It's going to, Travis Homer, he's going to have a good game running the football here for Miami, take some pressure off Rozier. And Big Man made an excellent point about Rozier. He's got to make some plays in the passing game here for Miami to win this football game. It's enough with the kid gloves. Start to make some plays down the football field. Throwing the ball if you're Malik Rozier. We haven't seen enough of it. People have been keying on the ground game lately for Miami and those little short intermediate passes that Rozier likes and keying in on the quarterback keepers because he's also a quarterback that can run with the football. It's time for him to start trying to air it out. You're not going to beat this Clemson defense playing kitty by the door football, playing passive football. You're going to have to be aggressive, take some shots. We'll see if Rozier's got it in him to do that on Saturday.
I say all of us, Donnie included, I say we all take a little chunk of cash and put it on that plus 315 price. Let's do it. Come on, guys. They could beat Clemson. Let's do it.
If I can use that GIF right now, we're just like, I don't know.
If the resident Kane fan is not believing in it, in Donnie,
he doesn't ever believe in his team. So
here's two things. No, if I bet against, I had Pittsburgh last week. I was praying that they didn't win outright, Pittsburgh, but I took the 2 touchdowns there because it's a great spot for Pittsburgh to be in. And Miami's going to struggle with a kid that can throw the football a little bit. The advantages for Miami in this football game, Kelly Bryant's not a thrower. Miami does very well against teams that don't have a super accurate passing game, which Clemson doesn't. The one thing that's really going to hurt the Canes is I haven't been a fan of Malik Rozier all year long. He's stepped up in some big spots at home, Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. But now you're going against arguably maybe, the best defense in the country here. He was completely off target in his last game. Guys were running wide open. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. That's going to be a problem here. Also, let's not look at where this football game's at. Where is it at? It's in Charlotte. You're going to have much more of a Clemson clientele, so to speak, at this game. Miami doesn't travel overly well. They're not going to sell out the stands there in Charlotte. It's going to be way more of a home atmosphere for the Clemson Tigers. Overall, Clemson's the better team. Do I want to lay 10? Probably not, but this is an uphill battle. That Herndon injury was massive for Miami. One of the few spots on the field that they have a guy that's a mismatch no matter what team you're going up against. They're not going to lose him. It's going to be a lot on Homer, which it seems like Rick doesn't like to run the kid at all. If you saw the game against Pitt, they're in a 3.6-point game late in the game in the third quarter. They refused to run the football, and Rozier's throwing the ball all over the place, completely inaccurate. That's what I worry about. But Miami's going to come to play in this football game. Their defense is really good. Clemson's not going to move the ball up and down the field at will on this team.
Donnie has me thinking, I want to bring up something. This whole neutral field, they're going to have fans there kind of stuff. I can't stand that argument. I hate it.
Well, they will. They'll have 3-1 advantage.
It doesn't matter. It's a big game. They're going to play well. Both teams are going to play well.
You kidding me? It doesn't matter. When you played sports in high school or college, wherever you go, and you're completely outnumbered on the other side, you don't like that.
Donnie, what do you think? They're walking into
Oh, boy.
It's stupid. It doesn't make it. What do you think? They're walking into a cauldron?
But this game, if this game was played neutral site in, let's just say, Tampa, you'd say, look, Miami fans are going to show up to this football game. This game's scheduled up in Charlotte. Will there be Miami fans there? Sure. But Clemson is basically an SEC program. They're going to travel to this football game.
Okay, I understand. What if they do? What do you think? Miami's never played in tough atmospheres? It's not like the whole world's going to be raining down on them in this game.
And but you're also it's a neutral site, but it's an advantage for a home team. If this game is played in Pasadena, and I would say, okay, a little bit different there. But this is played basically, right in Clemson territory here.
Yeah, I don't think it means much of anything. They're going to have fans there, just like Miami will. Miami might have more, but what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's that big a deal. I don't think it means anything. I don't think you're going to get extra points because they have more fans there. At the end of the day, these kids are there to play football. They're going to line up against the other team. Nobody worries about crowd noise. No, the crowd noise thing is so
All right, then, yeah, nobody worries about crowd noise. Then why does Miami just play all 10 games away? Why don't they just do that? It doesn't matter if they play at
like
home.
always, you're missing the point. I'm just
going opposite away. You're saying if you tell me if there's a 60,000 seat stadium and 40,000 fans are there for Clemson, it doesn't matter. What do you watch? That's a huge advantage.
They're not going to have with the 40,000 fans. What are you, nuts?
Why wouldn't there be 40,000 fans there?
Because Miami's a pretty big program. They're going to have fans there. What are you
Miami doesn't travel well. Miami doesn't even travel to their home stadium. Come on.
Well, because you don't go to the games. They don't travel well. Okay. Well,
Miami doesn't travel well to their own stadium. Then they're going to go to Charlotte? Come on.
Okay. All I'm saying is I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it means shit for the number. I don't think it means shit for the game. They're not walking into a cauldron where every fucking person's going to throw tomatoes
it's not
at them.
A cauldron. It's a nice advantage when you outnumber the other team 3-4 to 1 in fans. It's just a nice advantage. Same way when an NFL team goes on the road and be like, man, our fans took over that stadium. You know how nice that was? It is nice.
Except if you're the LA Chargers. That's it. Yeah, except them.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Guys, fair points on both sides. Good breakdown of the Miami-Clemson game. Hey, we got about 5-ish minutes left. We got the Degenerate special real quick and also best
Drew,
bets.
how do you have the heart to go from Miami, Clemson to Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina? Do we really have to do this?
Yes. No, we don't. We don't. It's actually my best bet, so I'm kind of excited about it. But we can just skip right over about it.
Actually, I do have an opinion. I really, really do. Honestly, actually, I'm not crazy to say this. I actually do have a betting opinion on this. It's not going to be a big play for me, but let's look at all of a sudden a little bit of life and a pulse for Georgia Southern the last couple of weeks here. 52-0 shutout win against South Alabama. 34-24 road win as underdogs at Lafayette last week. I know this initially after the firing of Summers didn't really show you much, but we're starting to see Georgia Southern percolate a little bit these last two games. I don't know how much is in the tank, to be honest, for Coastal Carolina. They are coming off a bye week. I understand that. They beat Idaho 13-7 on the road, a very surprising win for Coastal Carolina. That being said, though, I like this momentum for Georgia Southern. I think less than 3. I'd play the Georgia Southern side -2.5. I think they've got some serious momentum, and the effort's there. The performance has been there the last couple of weeks.
Donnie, you're shaking your head. Yes, you agree?
I like it. Yeah, no, I'm telling you. Look at Georgia Southern. Shea Werts comes back, and obviously you fire the head football coach. 52-0 win, 34-24 win. Even at App State, 27-6 sounds bad, but you were competitive in that football game. Also, I still can't get over the fact that when you break down film or look at Coastal Carolina, I watched one of the games a couple weeks ago early in the season when I believe it was Western Illinois came in and shatterbombed Coastal Carolina on their own field. Give me Shea Werts. Give me Georgia Southern. I'll lay it.
And Big Man, any follow-up?
No, I got nothing on this game. I would agree with these guys. I mean, this game means about as much as the discussion we just had.
Big recruiting battle in this game, though. If one team wins, though. Big recruiting battle.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina's going to try out new quarterbacks. They're not winning anything. This is, I'll tell you what. I'd rather watch fucking sewing on TV than this. I'd lean Georgia Southern just because Shea Werts, I think in games that I've seen him play, he's actually played pretty well for the most part. He might be a quarterback down there that's bet on, or maybe he transfers. Who knows? I like him. I think he's played pretty well. I think they're the better team. Coastal Carolina, kind of the new boys here this year, had a tough year. No real quarterback. Though they did go out to Idaho and play pretty well, surprisingly enough. But I would lean with the guys here. I would lean with the Eagles probably.
But did Linehan not play in that game against Coastal Carolina? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't, and I lost on the Vandals.
But either way, I mean, Idaho still should win and play well. Either way, Coastal Carolina stinks. I mean, they're no good.
Hey, Big Man, before we get to best bets, what's up with the college basketball tourney?
Oh, the contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd recommend everyone join in. I mean, the SBR contest page, I know they got the beat the bag stuff and all that stuff over there, but there are contests for each sport. You got the college basketball one that's tipped off. There's good amount of people in there, but if you're always looking, people, I know that people love the contest here. Maybe they don't know what's going on, but you go over to SBR contest, get involved with the college basketball contest. I'm in it. I'm trying to I'm going to throw a video out every day of a play of the day that I'm on. So it's a way to get plays early, or even try to beat me, and I'm sure you can. I mean, I actually lost my play last night that I put it on there. So yeah, come over, join. It's a couple bet points, and utilize all the contests. I mean, a lot of these contests you can win real money, real prizes, all sorts of things. So yeah, come on over to SBR contests and at least check out my video every day, or join yourself and try to win the contest.
Yeah, check that out on sbrpicks.com. Use the tab contest there. You'll find the college basketball tourney contest. Guys, we got to go real quick through best bets. I'll lead us off. A lot of the same reasons that we just talked about. Georgia Southern -2.5. Get them under a field goal right now on SBR odds. The new coach, they've had a spark offensively. I think they really take it to Coastal Carolina. So my best bet is Georgia Southern. Donnie, what do you got for best bets?
Yeah, going to go a little under the radar here. We're going to keep it at 329, 330. UMass and Florida International, one of those games that doesn't really matter to either team, just a tack-on game. I think UMass is going to treat this as their de facto bowl game heading down to South Florida. So I look for a lot of points in this one. 55.5 seems doable here. We all know Mark Whipple's going to throw it all over the field. A lot of, let's get in some plays. Let's have some fun. Let's go for it on fourth down. There's nothing to lose in this game. Over 55.5 between UMass and Florida International. I'm going over the total.
All right, nice.
I like it.
BMOC, what do you got?
I'm going back to the grain, 325, 326. Give me Miami plus 9.5 against Clemson, because I don't think a location means absolutely anything here. Miami's going to go in. They're going to play their game regardless if people cheer for them or not. They've been the forgotten team all year. It's all about Clemson every year in the ACC. Look for Miami to hang around, get a couple turnovers, throw that chain on. Make sure they're from the U. Give me the U plus 9.5. Not a lot on here statistically. I just have a feeling. Give me the U plus 9.5.
All right, I'm on Georgia Southern -2.5. Donnie over 55.5. UMass FIU. BMOC the U plus 9.5. Ian, finish us off.
I'm going to stick to a game on tonight's card, and we're going to go college basketball with it. We're going to go against a team that's reeling, that's had their cardinal wings clipped, so to speak, in recent games. We're going against this Stanford team because they're an absolute mess right now, and I'm going to take the Montana Grizzlies +7, who treated me well earlier this season, against the Pittsburgh Panthers with a road win in overtime. And look, this Stanford team is not playing well. It's Reed Travis and nobody else from an offensive perspective. You look at the last game, 28 points for him. The rest of the team combined had fewer points than Reed Travis, the rest of the starters. That's not good. He's relied on too much. There are minutes for him on a nightly basis, playing him 34, 35 plus minutes. He's been getting worn down, I think, a little bit. And you look at Stanford, 0-4 straight up and against the spread their last 4 games. Now, they faced a tough schedule, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio State, but most recently they had a nice lead against Portland State, just completely fell apart. They lose by 9 as 6.5-point favorites. Team not playing well. And Jared Haas has talked about we don't have confidence right now. When I hear that, we don't have confidence, it's not a team I want to lay 7 points with here in this spot. Montana's been feisty. Don't be fooled by the Penn State loss. I mean, that's going to show, on the road. They lost to Penn State 70-57. They were in that game for most of it. It got away from them late in that game. That was a very, very close game most of the way. I think Stanford's reeling right now, and I'm willing to take a shot to keep fading them. They're in a bad spot right now. They're in a bad way, and they don't have Dorian Pickens either. That's a big loss for them. Key guard on this team out with a foot injury. He's also not going to be back tonight. So Stanford's in trouble, and I think Montana can take advantage and hang in this one. Maybe even steal a win against a reeling Cardinal team. Montana +7, best bet.
All right, Montana +7 for Ian. Guys, that wraps up the roundtable for today. We'll be back next Wednesday, new time. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for the like button, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.